and I will give a short introduction into a number of video tutorials about intercultural communication for vocational education and training. This is a project we have started for helping trainers and counselors and coaches working with different target groups in professional and vocational education. It's very important for the trainer to understand the variety of students sitting in the classroom and to perceive these differences and similarities between them, and also to lead the training or counseling having this understanding in mind in order to have a classroom like a safe place and an inclusive place. So that's why we started this project to help, to support the trainers on this journey. Because they are all good, they are all professionals, they know their subject well, but what is important, how this subject is taught, how they work with students, how they make communication between students and between the trainer and the students. The particular focus of this project is to create a very concrete material, something which is really help for trainers, something which really answers the question how. Because there are a lot of books on intercultural communication. There is a lot of training, MOOC courses, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of brochures and pedagogical material, but there is very, very few materials which answer the question how. That's why what we are trying to do, we are trying to answer this question by asking the trainers. So the whole focus is to ask the trainers, and they share their own experience and their own way of teaching for other trainers. So it's a project which is done by trainers and for trainers with very concrete answers to very concrete questions. Another uniqueness of this project is that we are trying to give this, to convey this message through audiovisual learning, because there is, as I said, it's a lot of books, it's a lot of brochures, but most of the people, they like to hear and to see the other trainers, to hear the other stories, and this is how they learn. That's why we use audiovisual and we use digital, and we put the content of intercultural communication in it in order to convey our message. The whole project has been done in 2 steps. First, we made a survey in 2 countries, in Latvia and Sweden, where we asked trainers how they're working at the moment with intercultural communication, what is their awareness about this subject, and how they use this awareness in the classroom. And we also developed 5 video tutorials with 5 different trainers who are sharing their experience in order to help other colleagues, other trainers, and not only in Latvia and Sweden, but actually in any European countries. Because even though we have different vocational education systems and different types of courses, but the goal of vocational education is the same, is to create a bridge between labor market and individual. The whole project has been done in 2 major steps. The first step was to make a need analysis and to understand the awareness right now among employers and vocational education trainers about intercultural communication and how they apply it in their job. And the second step was to create video tutorials for them based on their need. And despite the big differences between Latvia and Sweden and any other European countries in vocational education, the types, the lengths, and all other differences, the main goal of vocational education in all countries is one and the same, is to create job and to give job to students. So vocational education is a kind of a bridge between employer and employee, future employee. And this bridge is very, very important in order to create a smooth transfer. So that's why we are focusing both on trainers and we are focusing also on employers. And the second part of the project was to develop video tutorials by trainers for other trainers. So we developed a number of video tutorials where trainers share their own experiences and their own methods they apply in the classroom and also in counseling of individuals. Another reason why we chose audiovisuals for making this training, for making these tutorials, is because it's a very thankful way for disseminating at European level. Because everyone through YouTube and other channels, everyone is watching those videos, and we, through using these channels, we will reach out to any trainer in any European countries, not only in Latvia and Sweden, and we are making it in English for that reason as well. In order to understand the project better, it's very important to start with definitions. And definition of culture is a very difficult one because there are so many of them in so many books and in so many theories and models. But we have chosen one very simple, which is suitable for trainers all over Europe in vocational education and actually in other forms of education. So let us start with the culture. What is culture? In this project is an ongoing negotiation of your own beliefs, values, attitudes, and behaviors, which you have learned in a certain context. So all of us bear with us certain beliefs and norms which we have learned and acquired through experience. And when we speak about cultural identity, it's not only about ethnical backgrounds, different ethnical backgrounds. It's also several other reasons, several other cultural identities which we can find. It's both our gender, it's our age, it's our religion, it's our sexual orientation, and all other identities. So, for example, to give an example, it's much more similarities between a youngster from Germany and Sweden than between a youngster from Germany and his parents from Germany, because it's a youth culture. They use the same media, they use internet, they watch the same programs, and so on and so forth. So it's not necessarily that you are born in one country and everyone has the same cultural identity. It's not like that. It's much more complicated than that. And this is what we are taking into consideration in this training as well. And if we move on and we speak about intercultural communication, what we mean with intercultural communication is the communication between these different cultural identities. And if we move one step more to intercultural communication competence, this is actually what we are teaching, what our trainers are teaching in video tutorials. Intercultural communication competence is the ability to communicate effectively between different cultural identities, effectively, and also in different cultural contexts. When we move on to the main definition, which is important for this project, intercultural communication competence, it is an ability to communicate effectively and appropriately in different cultural contexts between different cultural identities. So this is what we mean with culture in this project. Intercultural communication is becoming more and more important in our modern world, both for trainers in vocational education and also for employers when individuals enter labor market later. And we can divide this importance in three different layers. So layer one is demographic and globalization. Because people are crossing borders, people are moving to different countries, and all these identities I mentioned before, youngsters, age, gender, and all other criteria, they do need to be taken into consideration for employers and teachers in order to do a good job and to create an inclusive environment for all. So I could say you cannot avoid it. It's there, these demographical changes and globalization. So you must deal with it, both as teacher as an employer. If we speak about the second layer, it's legal obligation, because there is strong European law and also national law in all European countries about not discriminating. and especially in the context when there is dependency relationship, like between employer and employee, and teacher and student, you must obey the law. You cannot discriminate someone because they're different from the norm, the majority norm. So you're obliged, basically, you have to do this. And third layer, which is as important as the other two, is self-development of people, because we are living in this quickly changing world as trainers and as employers, and in order to survive in it, we need to adapt ourselves. So intercultural communication helps us to look inside us, to understand our own culture, to understand what is culture and what is different between my culture and other cultures, and how I can communicate effectively in order to do my job in a good way, but also to avoid this ethnocentrism, because if we do not meet other cultures and if we are not aware, we think like what I have is the best, my culture is the best, my thoughts are the best, my understanding of situation is the best, and it's superior to others. But it's not like this. I need to understand it, and I need to understand that the person sitting in front of me with a different cultural identity thinks the same about me. So the communication will never happen if we both continue thinking like that. So my own self-awareness and my own development is crucial in this modern context I'm living in. Intercultural communication is important not only for that, but for any education. It's because what I mentioned, demographic and the globalizing world, you cannot avoid it. And we know that traditional education in general has difficulties to adapt to the pace of the modern world. So that's why it's important to bring in this innovation, to bring in these horizontal issues in order to make education in pace with what's going on around, and also inclusive, efficient, to match what is going on outside of education, outside of the classroom and outside of the counseling room. And for vocational education is even more important to stay in line with what's going on around, with the context of the modern globalizing world, because vocational education is a bridge to labor market. So for teachers, it's important not only to teach out their professional subjects and to give the learner understanding of what are your skills, what is your knowledge, but also what are these soft values out there in the labor market that you need to be aware of. For vocational education and training is even more important to stay in pace with what is going on around in the globalizing, changing world. And because for teachers who are meeting these different students with different backgrounds and helping them to acquire right knowledge, skills and competence to go out and work later, is important not only to give them this knowledge and to show them where you find more of this knowledge to continue developing professionally. It's also important for them to show what is going on there in terms of these unwritten rules, these values, these horizontal issues. And all this is important to take into consideration to make a career and to get a job and to stay at that job. That's why we can say that vocational education classroom is mirroring what is going on out there in the labor market. And already in the classroom, it's important that we work with all those values, with all those horizontal issues. And already there, the student is preparing mentally to go out and work. And that's why it's very important for teachers to create an inclusive environment where everyone can speak out, everyone is safe, and everyone understands what is waiting for me and what is required from me apart from professional skills to get a job and to stay at the job and to make a career. If you speak about intercultural communication training and its components, they are plenty. It's verbal communication, non-verbal communication, empathy, and many more. And this is what our trainers in these video tutorials share, their own experiences and their own methods, how they deal with these different topics in the classroom and in the counseling environment between the counselor and the individual when it comes to professional counseling. The reason we started this project is that we wanted to create something concrete for both trainers in professional education and employers. The main challenge is that there is a lot of material, but it's very little concrete material which they can use right away in their practice, like toolboxes, methods, and something like this. So the biggest challenge is there is a lot of theory out there, but there is very little understanding how to implement this theory in the training context by me as a trainer, or in the workplace context by me as an employer. So challenge number one is shortage of concrete methods. Challenge number two, which we are trying to solve in this project, is prioritizing and resources. Because every teacher is of course focused first and foremost on his main or her main subject, and every employer is focused on the main area of their work, on business. The third very important challenge is connected to the fact that we are all people. We all have inside biases, preconceptions, what we care depending on the context we are grown in, and all our different cultural identity. So it's not easy to deal with if you do not understand, if you're not aware of it. So this is the challenge we are trying to tackle in this project, to raise general awareness of these biases and preconceptions, and also how to deal with them. The only way to tackle these challenges is to raise awareness about them, to speak about them in a clear and a pedagogical way, and also to equip trainers and employers with innovative, easy-to-use tools which they can apply in their everyday work. In this project, we are a group of trainers working already with students from different backgrounds, and we have a lot of methods, tools and experiences we use in our everyday work. So this is not a lack of tools and methods. There is also not a lack of digital training and digital tool or methods. What is lacking is to combine these two, is to combine, to put the trainer's experience, to share our methods through digital channel to reach out to more trainers. So what we are doing, what's innovative about this project is that we digitalize our experiences. We air our experiences, we tell about them for other trainers out there. Another innovation of this project is that we use audiovisual method, because this is the easiest way to learn. It's very entertaining way to learn, so to perceive the information. So we decided to use video tutorials instead of writing another manual, another PDF, which you just save in your map somewhere in your computer and you never use in practice. This short video is an intro for other videos where trainers will share their own experiences and methods they use in the classroom to deal with cultural clashes, to deal with cultural differences, and actually to capitalize on these differences to create a great inclusive environment for students to grow in. So now I would like to invite you to embark on this interesting journey where trainers share the real insights and real experiences from their professional lives.